like a stack of pancakes, right? So the most recent pancake you've made is going to go on top of the stack, and when you take off a pancake, you're taking it off of the top of the stack, right? And so this is really a first in, first out data structure. Okay. So given all these helper methods, right, is character returns true if this nested list holds a single character. In other words, if this nested list only consists of a single character, otherwise false. And get character is going to return this single character that this nested list holds. You probably want to call is car before you want to call this method. And then get list is basically going to do what get car does, except for a list of nested lists. Okay, so now we're at this point, right? We want to implement this deep iterator class. So first thing that we want to do is kind of conceptually think about how we want to implement this functionality. So if I have this nested list, right, how do I extract the single characters? Well, first, I want to make sure that I put things in reverse of where they are, of the order that they are in the given list, right? So if I want to return E, then X, then O, I have to make sure that in my stack, which I'm going to denote like this, right? So this is my stack. I want to make sure that I add O first, then X, then E, such that when I pop off my stack, I'm going to get returned E, then X, then O. Right, so that's something that I need to observe, adding things in reverse order of the order that I want to return them in. And then the other thing that we have to think about is how do we get rid of all these nestings, right? Well, we can kind of recursively do that by checking whether is car, and if it is, then we just get the car, just print that out or return it. And otherwise, if it's a list of nested lists, then we need to actually get the list and then repeat the whole procedure again, right, until we get down to is car being true. Okay, so that's the overlying idea. And so let's just kind of think about how we can use a stack. First of all, let's just kind of, we can't really do much with the list as it is right now, so let's just push it onto the stack, okay? And has next is really just going to check if our stack is empty or not. Right, and then for next, we want to first get the top element of our current stack, right? And so the first call to this is actually going to return to us the entire list, right? And so now we want to check if this cur is actually a single character or not, right? So if cur dot is car, then all we need to do is just return that car. Return cur dot get car, right, as our next element. Otherwise, that means that it's not a character. In other words, it's a list of nested lists. Then we need to first get this list, right? So how do we get the list? We actually get it by using this helper method. So we have list of nested list equals cur dot get list. Okay. And then again, think about how we said that we want to add things in reverse order of the order that we want to return them in. So we're actually going to index from the end of our array down to 0. So int I equals list dot size -1. Okay. I is greater than or equal to 0. And then I minus minus, right? Okay. And again, it's greater than or equal to 0 because we always want to include the very first element as well. And so for each of these things, we want to push them back onto our stack. List dot get I. Okay. So what happens if basically conceptually, right? If I just draw out a new stack here, we put this entire list in the stack, then we popped it, and now we're putting the first nested list, which is this kind of crazy looking, oops, this, right? That's our first element. And then we have E, right? Okay, so now, then we're going to be calling dot next again. And then or sorry, we're not going to be calling dot next again. Yeah, I was thinking that's not right. I didn't see this while not stack dot is empty. So as long as it's not empty, we keep on peeling away these nested layers until we get to this code, right? Until we get to a character, at which point we can actually return this next element. And so we keep on doing the popping. So now we pop off E. And in this case, this is still not a character because bracket denotes a nested list. And so in this case, we now need to add back on the stack list.get0. So the 0 is just E itself, right? And then in the third iteration, in the next iteration of our while loop, we now pop off the E, find that it's a single character, and then return that as our next element, right? And then we can basically return, do the same thing with the only element left in our stack the next time that we call dot next. So the next time that we call dot next, we would basically pop this entire thing off. Okay, so let me just rewrite this. X and then O, okay. And then we would start from the right? So I think in this case, yeah, maybe I got things backward, but basically the big idea is that at some point you're going to get down to this layer, and then at that point you'll be adding O first and then X, right? And then just like how we did it for E, you would then be popping off X, peeling off its layer so that you only have X, push that on the Q, and then now when you pop off X next, that's going to get returned as the next element, and similarly for O. So that's basically how this thing is going to work. All right, and so for the last topic of our review session, which is going to be streams, you can watch